What is up, guys? It's your boy Wormcacus, and today we are going to be taking the brand new Parasite Exotic Grenade Launcher added to Destiny 2 within the Witch Queen expansion through a real challenge. No, we're not just killing a Lost Sector boss. Instead, we are taking a full fire team, all using this new exotic through the entirety of the largest raid in Destiny 2 history, Last Wish, to see how it really performs in an endgame environment. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, guys, the worm inside, depending on the activity, sometimes talks to you, so you're going to want to hear it properly. That's why, thanks to my partnership with Astro, I'm giving away a pair of Astro A40s plus the Mix Amp, the best darn gaming headset you can get. All you got to do to enter is like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, tell 100 of your Facebook friends about them. I'm just kidding. All you really got to do is follow me on Twitter at RickCacus and tweet at me something with the hashtag Wormcacus. That's it, and we'll pick a winner in a couple of days. Now, on to this exotic. Taking a look at its exotic intrinsic perk, Worm's Hunger, it says, this weapon fires hive worms which explode on impact. The size and damage of the explosion scales with the number of enemies you've defeated just before firing this weapon. It also has another unique trait with Worm byproduct. Taking damage from your own worm projectile detonation empowers your weapons for a short time. So that Worm's Hunger perk is very important. It scales all the way to ×20 and it doesn't disintegrate. So as long as you kill 20 enemies, the next time you take out the parasite, it will have a huge damage boost. And again, I've seen a lot of people talking about how this is the new best thing out there because it can kill champions and Lost Sector bosses and so on. But what does it do against raid bosses? Well, in that first encounter against Kalli, we kind of have the perfect environment here. I mean, while you're holding out on the plates, there is constantly Shadow Thrall coming at you, which are perfect for killing and increasing your buff. You're going to see I go into this damage phase with the ×20 damage buff. So how much damage can this really do? Well, as you can see, you know, a decent amount, but it's not gonna one-shot the raid boss or anything like that. I think from what we've been hearing, we almost expected, you know, half the health to go away in one instance, but that is nowhere near the case. With that being said, you're still actually going to see that the damage output is pretty significant. Each shot chunks Kalli for a decent amount, and we're trying to stand close to her to be hit with our splash damage and empower our weapons. At the end of the day, the main issue wasn't actually damage, it was ammo, and pretty much all of us ran out at the end while I was desperately trying to get some, farming some ads. We did actually end up getting the one phase on Kalli. Someone may have accidentally cast a Nova Bomb, who's to know, my back was turned, but Kalli did go down. And overall, I'm gonna rate this thing a 6.5 out of 10. Really not the best thing to be using here. Yeah, it's better than average, but honestly, unless you're getting ammo from those ads, luckily, you might end up being screwed. However, it's time to move on from there to the second encounter with Shiro Chi. Now for this, we need to do 1/6 of her health or else the entire team is wiped. But just like the last encounter, there's a lot of ads to increase the damage of our initial shot. How does this thing do against her? Well, as you can see, I did get the ×20 damage buff, and I hit for a pretty decent chunk. Again, I think a lot of you guys expected just to insta-melt these raid bosses, but that was not the case. However, you know, over 100,000 damage popped up, and if all of us shot pretty much once, we took Shiro Chi down, or at least to the 1/6 level. So we were able to use this weapon pretty effectively against Shiro Chi, and that's partially thanks to that high enemy density. Pretty much every time we were going into a damage phase, most of us would have a pretty high damage multiplier, ×10, ×15, some of us ×20, that would absolutely chunk her off the start. Even if you didn't, if everyone shot like a couple shots, it would do enough damage to take that chunk of her health down. The one weird thing is that you're really saving it just for the boss fight. You don't want to be using this against ads because, again, ammo is a little tight. Overall, against Shiro Chi, I'm actually going to give this thing a 7 out of 10. It's kind of meant for this. Just kill ads normally, get to the boss, unload your big damage, and move on. But moving on, we have the third encounter against Morgeth, and you know we're going for that one phase. So, just like the other two encounters, there is a portion of ad clearing, which again kind of leans into this weapon's strengths. However, there's definitely less ads than the other two encounters, so some of us did have a harder time getting to really high damage bonuses, but we all definitely did get higher than normal damages for that first shot. So, how does it actually look against Morgeth here? Well, as you can see, yeah, it chunks him a little bit off the beginning. Again, not anything absolutely insane, but certainly we end up taking down Morgeth pretty darn fast with this little launcher. So here, I mean, Morgeth was dead at 60%, which is pretty darn impressive. I've got to give this thing an 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's not bad here at all. However, moving on from there, we have the Vault encounter, and this one I always say is super interesting because some weapons that are really good against boss DPS struggle here and vice versa because there's no raid bosses. You just have to deal with some very powerful knights very quickly while also being on top of ads. And man, this encounter was like built for the Parasite, or maybe I should say the Parasite was built for this encounter because you are literally just slaying out on ads non-stop until that knight spawns. And as you can see, if you do have a high Parasite bonus, you one-shot the knights. Guys, a lot of weapons have been tested by me in this part. Almost none have been able to one-shot these knights, and that is undoubtedly impressive. Now, I will say, for that one shot, I did have to do quite a bit of build-up, or I had to tell my teammates, okay guys, stop killing these ads, I need to kill them, I need to get high in terms of my damage bonus, right? And honestly, for the rest of the encounter, it was more often than not a two-shot. Even still, 2 shots to kill a knight, and so if you have a teammate, both of you shoot a shot, that's still pretty darn impressive. And if you are locking down a side like by yourself and you end up slaying out, you can get a high enough damage bonus to get that one shot. So still undoubtedly an impressive weapon. Again, almost tailor-made for this encounter. I've got to give it a 9 out of 10. But guys, moving on from there, we have the big daddy of damage phases against Riven. And you know we're going for the cheese. How much damage can this exotic do in a very short period of time? Well, luckily, there is quite a bit of ads that spawn in the Riven encounter, but we did have to make sure that she was coming to our side. If we were to teleport over with the cheese, it wouldn't have worked. We wouldn't have enough time to kill ads. So we only tested it when she was right there. We had ample time to kill ads. No, we didn't get to like all of us times 20, but we all got to times 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes a little bit more. One person would hog all the ads to get times 15. Guys, as you can see, Parasite against Riven, it actually deals a pretty decent amount of damage. We came away from that DPS phase going, wait, if we would have done a few things differently, I think we would have taken her down. And we actually spent quite a few runs against Riven with the Parasite, trying to get more consistent tethers and oppressive darkness grenades and all of that different stuff. We actually tried her hand as well instead of her mouth, all of that stuff, and we couldn't quite get it. We might have actually gotten it if we would have all put on like Riven's Bane armor and put on, curse mods to increase our damage. But at that point, it's like you're kind of stretching it, right? It's not a realistic thing to use to cheese Riven if you've got to put on an entirely different set of armor to do it. So at the end of the day, we got actually really darn close. And I would say technically you're gonna have to jump through some hoops, but it might even be possible with the Parasite. And so in that case, I've got to give it like a 7.5 out of 10. This is absolutely above average, verging on good, but it didn't quite achieve the one phase for us, and therefore that is the rating. But again, a pretty impressive showing. But of course, guys, we have one more encounter, the Queen's Walk encounter. And for this, you know, it's pretty darn good. Going out, slaying the ads right after you get through the mouth, and then absolutely goinking on the bigger yellow bar ads was awesome. And really, it's meant for if you get teleported inside, again, it's perfect. There's nothing but constantly spawning Thrall, and then the big knights that you also versed in the Vault encounter, which, I mean, it got a 9 out of 10 there, so it's pretty amazing here. The only other thing is when you're outside, when you're transporting, it's not the best. There's some enemies kind of far away, and you gotta like angle your shot like a mad lad, shoot it straight up into the air, and maybe you'll hit a guy. In fact, it'll probably just hit yourself by the time you get there. So it's really good if you get teleported inside, not so good outside, 8 out of 10. And so, guys, we have the overall rating. I've got to be honest with you, I think the Parasite is a bit overhyped. I think there's a lot of videos out there where people went into lost sectors and how can you not kill a boss in the lost sector? Of course, it's going to look impressive there. In an actual raid boss fight against actual raid bosses with times 20 bonuses, you guys saw it's not actually, you know, melting everything. However, it still does chunk, right? And it still does a decent amount of damage. We were able to get some, you know, raid boss 1 phases. Definitely, this is a weapon that has potential, even if it is a little overhyped in my opinion. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10 overall. Guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.